Oh wow, GitHub. We don't you often see a GitHub on the show. It's a nice change of pace here. Let me
Yeah,
just
yeah.
uh, let me just put the music on. We'll wait for Mati and we will get straight to it. I'm excited to run through a GitHub. It seems like we're gonna have a full-on nerd session. Usually we have people talk about, all the fluffy stuff, but this is cool to see.
Yeah. Well, my job is to build, not to the other jobs. Yeah, they talk, they do other important stuff. My job is here. Like when you ask about the office, so this is the main office.
Yeah, this is people. You see my screen, not my face. That's the line of the season. Let me put this on. It's coming now.
Yeah, you can see here my face.
Let me see. Those are mental GitHub commits. Those are mad GitHub commits. Look at those GitHub commits.
No, but this is relaxed. We work harder in 2023. This is also like the hard work.
I mean, I've started vibe coding a bit. Uh, let's I've started vibe coding a bit, like making these apps with AI, and like I want to get to that. That's my dream. Not like forget P&L, forget any kind of social stats, likes or whatever. To get to a GitHub contribution that could then you've built a lot of shit, especially if you're a 10x engineer. Mighty GM to you. What's happening? Thank you for coming on at what was short notice. I know you have a flight to catch to Dubai, and I'm very jealous of you. Send my regards to the fam there. Uh, you know, thank you for coming on. There's a electric feeling in the air. Bitcoin is back. We've broken through the resistance. We are testing that again as support, right? And it's holding up and it's looking good. And penguins, people are talking about penguins again. Mati, like it's no longer about, it's no longer bear posting. Chinese tariff news is coming out like in a positive light. Like we're starting to see some movement over there. Like seems like we're in that we're so back part of the circle.
Yeah, yeah, with you there. Every word of it actually makes we discussed this, I think, last week. Uh, historically explained that we were experiencing a breakout, and I believe we went on that day to experience another double-digit percentage gains. So that was a good 48 hours for me. But yeah, looks like we've been since then kind of just testing the new highs and seeing are we going to really go higher, or are we going to continue into the doldrums? It is really kind of an inflection point right now. But
Stan's
things
hooking you up with Stan's hooking you up with some charts. You don't need it. You've come at like do your DYR charts over here for you, Mati. The
yeah.
rainbow chart. What do you think of this one?
The rainbow chart is ridiculous. It was actually by the inventor of the rainbow chart, Eric Wall, who said it was ridiculous from the beginning, and he was just joking. But I love that it kind of like does seem to hold up even after all this time. Um, yeah, accumulate Bitcoin. That's what the chart says. But you don't need a chart to tell you that, right?
Yeah, I mean, you need a chart, I think, to tell you when to accumulate Bitcoin. Like, I think of personally, people asking me now, should I buy? Is it a good time to buy? And it's always like not financial advice, but in some instances it is better to kind of, for me right now, I think 95 to 109 is my no buy zone. So maybe I'll put in a little, DCA just to like fulfill the obligation of DCAing every month, but I'm not going to deploy like real capital at this point. And then, 84 to 74 is around my buy zone. And then maybe when we get to like 105, we're getting into the sell zone. You know what I mean? It makes sense to kind of think like that. Obviously, if you have, never ever trade with your entire stack. I think that is the number
Yeah.
one I want to get on a full screen
Below
and
85. That was a
yeah,
that was a good
yeah, then,
entry, I think, for most of us. Below 85 was like, okay, is it going to go to
yeah.
75 or not? Maybe reserve a bit of capital for 75, and some of us managed to catch that tail on some of the large.
I've got a Kraken proof of like 74.80 or something.
Right.
A bar order triggered,
There
but
you go.
that was magical. But I bought like it's never that price because I'm always like DCAing. So I got got sort of the average between the 84 and 74 sort of region, and now we're back up. I think it's super exciting to see the tariff news. I think people are also freaking out about the M2 money supply graph that is sort of taking up, and to the right. Like the other day, there was someone showed this graph. I'll pull it up now of M2 money supply correlated with Bitcoin. And I think on that day, India changed how they kind of measure M2 money. So you just see this kind of hockey stick in money supply go up. And that's all going to get attracted and sucked up by Bitcoin. And it's going, and everything's good for Bitcoin. Peace is good for Bitcoin because then everything pumps. And war is good for Bitcoin because people realize that in times of war, you need money that the other side can't touch. So that's then Bitcoin pumps, and we're starting to see. I think I want to get your take on this, Mati, because as much as I try every week to get to the quantum spaces, they're always like, I've got my child's dinner or whatever, and that I feel like that's when you wrap up a week and you give your take on these things. So I want to get your take on this on BTC decoupling from stocks. Like, do you think this is sustainable? Trend that we're seeing? Is it just a few statistical outliers that mean nothing? Like, what is happening here with the relationship between BTC and stocks?
Yeah. Yeah. I've been reflecting on this a lot over the last few days and weeks, actually. People use this word decoupling as if there's going to be some period in the future, like there was in the past, where Bitcoin is uncorrelated to other financial assets. And I believe that ship has sailed permanently. In previous to 2017, Bitcoin would trade uncorrelated to other assets on the day to day. Still, there was a correlation between risk assets and Bitcoin because the main driver of price action is money printing, and that influences both Bitcoin and stocks. However, now that Bitcoin has become much more prominent piece of Wall Street and institutional investors, and now even nation states. I don't believe that we'll ever see this decoupling one from another, but rather Bitcoin is now a new asset class. So similar to gold or crude oil, and how they interact with the stock market, which is that sometimes they travel together and sometimes they travel separately, and analysts are often able to identify reasons for that. So Bitcoin is also now part of that ecosystem, and therefore will sometimes behave like a risk asset, sometimes like a safe haven, depending on what's happening in the world, how severe the news is, and ultimately by the buy and sell pressure that's going on in this great global economy that we're part of. So no, there will never be, in my opinion, a decoupling as some have called for, and feel like is about to come any minute. No, it's not going to happen. Bitcoin is now part of the financial system.
But I think even if I think what I think about the financial system is it's always obviously short term and hedging. You've got short instruments, but it's never. It always pays off to be a bull because when the economy is doing well, the economy is doing well, and when the economy is not doing well, it gets to a point. There's like a gray area that we're in now, like the economy's like getting worse off, but it's not bad enough for the Fed to intervene. But once you hit that, like boom, then Jerome Powell calls up his buddies, like, come on, guys, let's go. Get out of your robes. Get out of your swimming costumes. We're going to go and firing up the printer. We're going to add a couple zeros to the money supply, send it off to JP Morgan Chase, call Jamie Dimon, tell him he has a check coming, and like spread out trillions of dollars in one wash to spark the economy. So I think we might get there. I don't know if we'll get there.
I mean, money printing is not necessarily healthy for the global financial system. It tends to cause asset bubbles, and bubbles tend to cause unnecessary volatility. Personally, I'd much rather we have, steady increases over time that are more sustainable and realistic as the world economy becomes more valuable.
Yeah, I mean, Bitcoin's there to capture it all, and it's a good. I
You
want to
do have
say
a point to do about
yeah,
not betting against the end of the world, right? Because if you bet against the end of the world, I mean, the worst thing that can happen for you is you're right. Like if you bet against the world and the world ends, I mean, what do you need? What do you need that money for, anyways? The world is over.
yeah,
You can't use it. So you might as well be an optimist. You might as well bet on the world continuing to grow and continuing to be successful. And history has vindicated a lot of people who stepped in during tough times, bought the dip. There's countless examples of that.
what's Stan sharing with us? Yeah, Stan, do you want to give it? Do you want to use this chart as an opportunity
Hello, Stan. Who are you?
to say GM to introduce yourself?
Yeah, well, you're talking about the price, but I think the adoption is the base for the price, because the price could be like 1 million if there's two users and make one deal, so the price is high. But if there is no adoption, the price has no support, and this is what make the support for each of the fields. So we're going up, like with the adoption, more user using this technology basically, and this is make value. Like you said before about gold. So I think this is the best comparison, because there is limited amount, gold or oil on a limited amount. But if nobody use gold, gold will be no price. If nobody use oil, there's no price for oil.
Right.
Yeah, I think the the commodities, we think of Bitcoin as a digital gold, but it's so much more than that, because gold has, as they say, there's infinite. There's a famous picture of like a video of Dave Portnoy where the Winklevoss brothers are trying to explain to him Bitcoin, and they talk about like gold is abundant because Elon Musk is going to go to the moon and mine abundant gold from the asteroid. It's not untrue. I mean, like we are becoming multiplanetary. The gold exists in abundance in the universe, and that soon is going to be our playground. The only thing that doesn't exist in abundance in the universe are numbers under 21 million. Like that's fixed number. That's it. You pick a number, you see it, and you're on that forever.
Well,
So
it's
that's, I think, the scarcity of Bitcoin that gives it a 10-time advantage.
here's the thing, right? If crude oil becomes expensive, right, then crude oil companies and producers are going to go out and drill more oil. If gold becomes more expensive, then gold miners are going to go out and mine more gold. If Bitcoin becomes more expensive, you can't go and mine more Bitcoin. There's only that fixed amount that comes online every day. You can't get more of it, no matter what the price is doing. So that's an analogy I've heard from many, including Michael Saylor and even hedge fund managers who understand this, is that there's never been any asset like it in the history of the universe. You can't get more no matter what the price is doing, and that is truly unique to Bitcoin.
I want to show you what I picked up from New Hedge dashboard. I want to show you guys this kind of insane stat that you. Oh wait, how do I share here? One second, you got to be very smooth with the DCA button. So the DCA calculator over here, right? You can see that you can see that you have $1,000 purchased monthly, right? For, let me just zoom in so you guys can kind of see that for 3 years, starting from 3 years ago, and then I can go to the right, and I can see that for Bitcoin that would be you'd have $90,000 today, right? S&P and gold, you'd have almost half as few. You'd be in profit of 65,000 US if you invested $1,000 a month in Bitcoin for the last 3 years. And the crazy thing is if you play around with the starting from 6 years ago, you see how much Bitcoin is cruising. Accumulate for 5 years. Bitcoin is whatever time frame you choose, you're completely dominating the other asset classes, which is incredibly incredible amazing for Bitcoin. And the volatility is also dropping. So if you take a look at Bitcoin volatility, which is how do they Bitcoin volatility, is it on here? So you take a look at Bitcoin volatility, single day volatility, and it's come down by almost half over the last couple of years. So you're seeing these outsized returns with the volatility compressing. No, I don't think we have Bitcoin has 10, 100, 1,000 X to go, like some of these meme coins that might get you wrecked, right? But yes, it's got a very secure, solid floor. I think that here to stay. Hardcore hodlers, people that have held on Bitcoin for over a year, like the hodl waves would show you how much supply is with real believers. If you check here, you sum that up, the hodl waves of more than 1 year, it's almost 60%. It gets 60, 70%. So that's a lot of people getting added to that hodler base. And look at that purple. That's people that have held for over 10 years their Bitcoin. And that started off, with almost nothing. And that's slowly getting bigger. And soon that's going to be all of our wallets as well. And that's what's happening here. So people, like, more and more supply going offline forever. People saying, this is where I'm going to park my store of my value across time and space, and this is what I've got coming. So that's kind of what I see for Bitcoin. I want to say hello to Stan. Stan, CTO of Poolz Finance. Mati, before you joined, Stan shared his screen, and what was on his screen? It wasn't a chart of, it wasn't some tweet, it wasn't a video, it was a GitHub repo. So Stan, get straight to the meat. That's the kind of guy Stan is, and we're lovely to have you on the show. Maybe share a little bit about yourself, about Poolz, what you guys got cooking, and then we can get into that GitHub you so kindly shared.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Thank you for having me here. So far, really nice. I hope it's keep like that. And yeah, about what you said before on the chart. So I want to give a small note on it. That chart, when you take like a 5 years time frame, it's not calculating inflation. So like the numbers you see, it's not like the real numbers you can spend on store, because there is an inflation there. So if you take the S&P, even the S&P fixed to inflation, over time, you see the profit is much less than it's actually shown to you.
Yeah, yeah. A lot of rich people, they tend to store their money in assets because that's the only way to really beat inflation.
Yeah, so like in inflation 5%, and you profit like 5%, so it actually did not no profit; it just didn't lose.
If you look at the stock market of Caracas in a year that Venezuelan inflation was 1,000,000%, I mean, the stock market looked great. It surged, because it was being priced in bolivars. So yeah, you got to be aware of of this dynamic.
Yeah, so let me tell you about the Poolz. We started somewhere in 2020. Yeah, so we try to do a launchpad over there, the launchpad was a little bit different than it's now. The market is evolving, and I like to see like systems and market as an like living organism. Right now, it's easier to see with the AI that it could be like a real thing, a system.
Yeah. So how would you say you were integrating AI into making it fundraising a lot more like efficient and plentiful?
Yeah, well, there's lots of ways we try to implement AI. First of all, we use AI on a daily basis on work. Me and my team, we using the AI tools, different AI tools on different tasks that help us build more efficient and better, even from the planning stage until the final execution and testing.
Yeah, what's Dan showing? He's sharing a GitHub over there. Let's see if I can see it. You can go in.
Yeah, so I can give you, for example, we build the latest deployment we did. It's this one, dispenser provider. We added it to our log-deal NFT system. So basically, log-deal NFT, it's where we lock in the IDO tokens after the sale and distribute it automatically to the users on the rules of each IDO.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is like an extension to our base system. We have the base system log-deal NFT, and we got like different extensions to the system. And when we are building, most of our code is MLT licensed. That means it's free to use. So anyone can just go to the Poolz GitHub and check all our code.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting this kind of token distribution technology. I think that's what everyone's trying to kind of get their hands on. But I don't know. I'm like I'll maybe have like an answer for me, like from what you guys see, because for me, like the whole launch, like token launch space has changed dramatically in the last 18 months. Like it used to be a situation where you would go to a launch pad, you'd have maybe some alpha stats or like a community somewhere, and you'd raise a bunch of money from the launch pad, and then you go get on some dexes, get on some centralized exchanges, and you trade very early in the life cycle of your project, and people can raise 5, 10, $20 million like that. Today, like there's there's a vesting if you got in on the launch pad. And today you have pump fund, which is instant liquidity projects, or like virtual platform where these AI coins are launching with fair launch from day one. Like maybe some snipers trying to bid the launch, but most of the coins in circulation from the beginning. You have things like Kaito AI, which is a lot of the projects are now diverting their like token distribution through Kaito. So either distributing to Kaito users, or they're distributing to people who stake on Kaito, or people that that share, people that stake on Kaito, or people. Why am I not on the screen? This doesn't make sense. Yeah, hold on. Let me just.
Yeah. Well,
I don't use this.
actually, like it's a zero sum, like zero minus fee, actually. So, like when you says you make $1 million, somebody need to input that $1 million before you can sell. So eventually, there is need to be some ecosystem actually to work. Like this expectation, like it could happen, of course. Something can shoot really high, but the expectation to make a really big profit in short time, it's a little bit unrealistic for a while. Yeah, of course you could be like an early adopter in the right time, and this is exactly what Poolz and even other launchpads do. They give you the chance to get this big profit, but it could not be for long time. Repeatedly, because the money need to go from somewhere. It's not like somebody gifting you $1 million each time. So there is a need to be like the project need to do actual work. They need to be having actual clients. They need to grow. They need like everything that any other company need to do. And then yes, the token can be like in like not in the 4 months vesting, but after like couple of years, this company could be a really big thing.
Yeah, yeah, no doubt. For the people who got in early on some of the big projects today, they're definitely sitting pretty, if they had the fortitude to hold and not, sell when Bitcoin hit $8, like we've seen some tweets out there going, I'm so lucky I sold Bitcoin when it was $8, and then you're like, dude, it's 100K now. But yeah, so, but the question is, like, and that's not necessarily, just holding through is not necessarily the biggest problem. I think the more difficult thing is identifying projects now that are going to be bigger later, because there's so much crap out there. And especially, in the wake of Gary Gensler and Joe Biden, who literally chased out all the good actors, leaving us with only bad actors. Um, Hopefully there will be good actors coming in again, in which case, the market can really discern between a good project and a bad project. People are really good at the end of the day at allocating capital and making sure that that money is going towards a good place. But like, with all the crap out there, how do you know which ones are going to be good, and how do you know which ones to support on Poolz?
Okay, you make a great point. Well, basically, that there is like two things. There is like the basic non-scam. So this is what the Pools is checking, and there is the success. This is a guess. This is a individual guess for everyone. So we can make a sure on the first on the first. We check. We do our due diligence. This is the core of Pools, is making sure. Let me give you the analogy for ships. Like 100 years ago, you build a ship to trade a long distance. So you need the ship. It costs money. You need the crew. You need to feed them. You need to buy up the stock. Then you go for a far land, sell it high, buy some other stuff there, and come back. You can have a storm in the middle. You can have like lots of risk in the middle. But if you complete the cycle, you've got profit, and the profit is shared between the stakeholders, the one who paid for all of this. The same thing is happening now, but the ship now is some company, and they have some plan. They need to go to this place, take this stuff, and return back and make profit. And this profit should be shared between the one who helped them reach there to gather the team, gather the ship.
Sure, but and that's why stock markets were invented in the beginning, right? With the Dutch East India Company, who said, well, instead of buying one ship, for 1,000 guilder, actually you can now invest in 10% of 10 ships for 1,000 guilder, and that's going to be a much safer bet.
Yeah, but when you're on the forecast of the weather, it's a little bit a dangerous game, because you can say people there is storm coming, give me your stocks cheap, and then no storm coming, or otherwise you can
Right.
don't tell your competitors that there is.
But you know what the thing is, Stan? Like, a lot of the time, some of these utility tokens, it doesn't even seem like, you're buying the ship or even a piece of the ship, but rather like the nets that are used, on the ship. Like, okay, so if the ship comes back full of spices or whatever other trade goods, the utility token doesn't necessarily tie in and give you ownership of the profits. And that's really, I think, one of the biggest pitfalls that projects can use, right? And for example, like we famously saw with EOS, right? Like, they did this massive ICO, and in the end, it was the stockholders who gained value, and all the tokens went to shit. So
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, it's just like I won't cut this part, but it like INX also had a similar situation. They just got bought out by Republic for $60 million, and that was completely, I think it was like a couple X, I don't even know the exact amount, but the shareholders kind of, I think, came up on top, and the token, they also have like a security token, but that, just kind of stagnated. Like they had a payout of $35 million that went out to token holders if they got when they got acquired, and that kind of helped to like spark the token up a bit. But it's still like, it's still not. It's where you would expect it to be. So I think it's like, until we have a situation where the token is the equity, right? There's always going to be a mismatch in alignment between the founders and the buyers, right? Because you're selling them an asset. That asset has no upside if you get bought, right? If the company gets bought out, which is, what most traditional investors look out for, right? They look for acquisition that can return them money return on investment, or they look for a company going public. And I think it's very hard for crypto companies to go public, especially the more degen ones. But acquisition is definitely possible. So if you're a token holder, you're giving up all the acquisition rights. You're giving up, so I think until equity and token utility governance, all the fun stuff, right? The fun stuff should need to be in addition to. It can't be, like the thing in and of itself. It can't be that you have. It can't be that you have a situation where, no, this is crazy. This is
what happened?
crazy. They're just banning me from my own show.
Who's
Who's
doing
this
that?
empty? It's no, it's all these layouts. They don't show me up. There we go. That's a better layout. No, as I was saying, I think I think the tokens and equity need to come together in order for this to be uh, a sustainable economy. In order for we in order for like we have a bull run that doesn't end in a collapse, something such that with leg, right? And so long as we have all this abstraction without tying it to any real world value, like, you know that's why now we're starting to see that with different protocols turning on their fee switch. So token holders are starting to get them revenue share, even though we're not calling that it's just fees, but revenue share isn't enough. In order for like the end game of any tokenization is equity plus utility plus governance, the whole all it's comprehensive set of rights that one token gives you, and that it's completely freely tradable, like, so it's a decentralized way, right, as much as possible. Right, there might be some KYC at on ramp off ramp points, but otherwise you can use it in DeFi. You can stake it, you can lock it up, you can pledge it as collateral, you can use it to mint stable coins, and it also a share in your company. If the company that issues this token gets bought out, it's an instant airdrop to all the token holders. If you don't have that, then it's just, I think for me, it's just fluff in the air.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's hard to pioneer. No one's going to be the pioneer of it. At INX, we was trying to sell people on equity tokens, and most people don't like haven't got that idea yet. Like most people, when they issue security token, most of the security tokens out there, Republic also have a security token. There's also different, invest stacks. There's a few security tokens on the market, and very few of them are equity tokens, right? They're revenue share tokens. So they have to be securities because there's a revenue stream. But again, the upside that people want to buy assets, the revenue's nice, but we want to make the 10, 15, 20x, right? If we're buying something risky, if we're buying like a startup, right, which is essentially what most of these investments are, we want to have that upside. And that's only possible with equity tokens. I'm hoping to see like some move towards that, because it's right now zero. Like how many crypto companies in the space have their actual equity tokenized? I'm talking about, don't sell me some shit about a foundation. Like the company but that the company that pays the bill of Uniswap and Arbitrum and Sonic and I don't know, Kaito. Like, how many of them have the actual company stock tokenized? Probably like, unless I'm not aware of backroom deals. It's definitely not in the news anyway. There's zero.
Well, it's a small project because, like what you're talking about, it's they need to save money on marketing. So that means the community is much smaller. But there is some project that is small developers that do like some really small tool, and all the payouts from that tool, it's like dividends paid out for the token holders. So that means like A class stock, not B class stock.
We had a question come in from the audience here.
I've got what is causing XMR price. Who's this oak?
Yeah,
And where's he
so
from?
I'd like to answer this question because I know who asked it. Yeah, so the answer is more buyers than sellers.
Market goes up, market goes down. Like right now, if you're not thinking about your exit strategy, you see some coins like they're pumping, right? But they're like, whoa, it's up 200% in the last couple days, and
Now check this out. Look at the
and
chart,
like
man.
I'm looking at my sell orders, and they're like 4x higher that I set them 2 months ago. Like that. We're still, I think we're bouncing nasty off the lows. Oh, XMR.
Look at this. This is the
Yes.
weekly chart. This is massive. This is a massive, massive pump. So XMR is Monero, the original privacy coin. So clearly somebody out there doesn't want somebody else to know what they're doing with their money, and they think that buying Monero is a great way to hide that from somebody else. Okay.
No, I don't think that's the narrative. I think the narrative here is I don't think someone's actually using Monero right now. I think it's more about like a Dino coin narrative, right? I think if I'm looking at XLM and XRP as kind of something that could benefit from this pump, because I think when people love when the liquidity comes back, like we see it in a lot of cycles where it hits the meme coin, one or two culture coins, but where is it going to come to? It's going to come to the it's got the liquidity is going to come back to these kind of coins where they have tons of sex listing. Yeah, not bad, but still a lot of room to run. But also XRP had a nice breakout over there.
Yeah, clearly. So you
Bitcoin
think that
moved a little? Yeah.
You think that speculators are going back to the Dino coins? Okay.
Yeah, let's see XLM and the Dino coin. We'll know speculators are back on the Dino coin when they start buying ETH, which is like the dead velociraptor of this.
Right.
ETH is a Dino skeleton at this point.
Yeah.
But Dogecoin, I think, Mati, your baby, I think Dogecoin looks very tasty over here. Let's maybe put a pin in it.
No idea.
Because I was thinking about it, like, if anything's gonna have a run, like it's starting to move here. You're starting to see, but it hasn't. XRP, it's all past the loss. Kind of. It's XRP's at least recovered to a much higher low, but Dogecoin is just getting started.
Yeah, it was up at 48. Now it's all the way down to 18. I mean, it was I was able to get some even as low as like 16 over here. Oh man, even that tail down to 13. It's incredible. I mean, I like with all of the so first of all, Dogecoin is the original meme coin, the one and only original, and then second of all, it is the only meme coin that has managed to like literally occupy a branch of the US government and affect positive change. So like no other meme coin can claim that they, infiltrated the White House. So there's that. And then the fact that Doge is mentioned on the news nowadays, like 10 times every hour, particularly, in relation to Elon Musk and what he's doing. That's just a
He
very
said he's
strong.
leaving, Mati. He said he's leaving. Maybe that's the bottom signal.
No, he never said he's leaving. That
He's like
actually never.
leaving full time. He's gonna cut it back, but he's got like a million companies. Like he's
Yeah, I
gonna
mean, you can't.
turn
He
his
can't
focus
be.
to
He
Tesla.
can't be full time on anything. When you've got that much stuff, like take. I can tell you that from experience. You've got to concentrate on one thing at a time, and then you can move around and do other things. And one thing that I've been looking at is NFTs on Doge. So here we have the Doginal Dogs collection, which I was a early adopter of this one as well. It came out like more than a year ago. I got 4 of these for like $200 each. And I was just about to sell one because they're holding up at $2,000, and I was about to sell one. I even listed it, and then I saw Fred Krueger post his Doginal dog, and I'm like, oh, delist, because I think that there's a very real chance, that Elon Musk is. He has mentioned before that he wants to see innovation happening on Doge chain and NFTs on Doge chain. Grok gives it about a 10 to 30% chance that Elon Musk will tweet about this collection, which I think is pretty high.
Yeah.
And then if
Mati Shilling JPEGs. We're back.
I'm
We're
talking
so
my
back.
bag right now, like I'm telling you guys, what I've been holding for more than a year already. But yeah, like these, like the
Can we
the
see a chart?
artwork,
Can we see a chart of this collection?
the artwork is absolutely amazing. I don't think there's any chart of it, honestly. I'll just tell you that it's been around $2,000 per dog. What I was really amazed was that it actually flipped the frogs, because if you'll remember the ordinal frogs that I was holding, I still am holding.
Yeah.
I've never sold any of them. I round tripped those fuckers. This one you can see a chart of, by the way.
Yeah.
I
22
round tripped
rounds.
these all the way up to, here was at the top, nearly half of
Yeah.
Bitcoin.
Wow. That's so fucking great,
Yeah, it was
bro.
like
Half of Bitcoin.
$20,000 for one.
Wow. That's a lot of.
Uh, yeah, so
But
I
that was
bought
like,
them
yeah, that was
all the way back here,
Bitcoin
like
was way
three
lower
hundred dollars
back then.
each, and now they're back down to like $700. So to see the dogs flip the frogs, I mean, that to me was just mind blowing right there. But the dogs have never had their moment, and I just feel like they will. But
Do you
knock
think?
on
Do you
wood.
think? What do you think about ordinals and like the Bitcoin ecosystem? Do you think like that kind of those frogs will come back, and if so, like what kind of return will they have? What kind of catalyst? Or you
They're
not
still
really sure?
active. Like the Bitcoin frogs groups are still active. I mean, I'm checking in on them every like once or twice a week, and yeah, people are moving around there. They're doing stuff. But the issue is that it's very difficult to organize frogs for 2 reasons. Number one is that half the community is in China, and there's a massive language barrier between the Chinese ordinal folks and the English speaking ordinal folks. But the other problem is that they're frogs. I mean, like I proposed things like maybe the frogs should do this or do that. And they're like, we're just frogs. All we do is rivet. Like that is what we do. Dogs, at least, like they
Yeah,
hustle. They're part of a pack. Like they're go getters. Frogs, they just sit around in the pond all day, lazy as fuck. And there isn't like some kind of initiative that you can imagine will ever arise from the frog community. It's just being an OG and part of that
yeah. No,
OG
I think
group.
I think in terms of like ordinals communities, like there's some communities like the Pizza Ninjas, which are more like substance based. There's events, there's meetups. You're part of the community, and then there's some communities that are just like pure cult degeneracy. There's zero utility, zero. And they don't try and pretend like they have utility. It's
Right.
completely about the culture. Like puppets are down. Go check the puppets round trip, or the Node Monkeys round trip is the hardest round trip of them all. But the puppets round trip was also pretty bad.
Wow.
That got
Yeah.
up to almost half a Bitcoin again, and the Node Monkeys got even higher. Node Monkeys pumped to around, I think, 0.8 BTC. You could have sold a Node Monkey and been, 0.2 shy of a full coin.
Oh my gosh! Wow. Yeah.
How
Now
is that pump?
$3,500. It's still not. It still beats a sharp stick in the eye, but yeah, almost 0.9 BTC. Jeez, Louise. Well, that was March 24. That was like $30,000 per
Yeah.
JPEG. I mean, just look
Yeah,
at
the
these.
generational trade was selling ordinals in March 2024.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to come back. I think there's no ways Bitcoin tokens, like that explosion of value, that kind of zero to, and as people think of it as like 30,000, got to $30,000 floor. It didn't. It got to 0.8 BTC floor. That's a whole
So
different
I got airdropped
ballgame.
one of these, I remember,
Those
in the
are,
Ordinal Craze, these Prometheans, and they were
no, those are
literally
dead.
they were so, and I mean there was yeah, they're so dope, and like they were trading at like $9,000 per at the peak, like right after the airdrop.
Yeah.
And I go to my son, he was 5 at the time, like, dude, keep it or sell. He's like, keep it. And I'm like, okay. And we kept it, and now they're what are they worth, like $30?
Yeah, we got to be
$15.
better. We
I
got to
want to
be better
cry.
parents,
I want
Martin.
to
We got
cry.
to
This
teach our
stupid
kids.
JPEG.
We got to teach our kids to sell the top. I was needlessly bullish on runes and ordinals, like uncharacteristically so. And the truth is, like trends come and go, and you got to be completely. You can't marry your bags in this space, and that's kind of the dichotomy between like everyone's like talking about projects and yapping, and I'm trying to cover some projects. I like to explore innovation, but I'll never marry a community. I'll never marry a bag because at the end of the day, it's still a bag. So I got to find it. If you get in, okay, fine, you buy or you mine or you farm, but I got to know when the right time to get out in it as well.
One
Once
thing that I
this,
can say that I did sell the top on was this one, Dog Go to the Moon. The rune stones that were airdropped. I got one rune stone for 4 frogs, and they said, okay, we're going to come out with 3 meme coins to every rune holder. They only came out with one, which was this Dog Go to the Moon, and I sold it as soon as it hit. It was like $9,000 airdrop. I was like, I don't see this going any really higher than that. If it does, I'll kick myself. But like I just saw them like pumping,
$9,000
pumping, and
stimmy is a
pumping. It's
great
like
stimmy.
it's what like I'm like, what does the actual coin do? And it was only hype that had it at $9,000. I saw it very clearly. Like this is only hype, and there's a limit to how much you can keep hyping something up before somebody's gonna hit the sell button.
I think Dog's another one to do well in the next season. The community's still there, and
Yeah,
and and I think I'm not ruling out runes, but again, it's about
having a pump
timing. Like
today, or they had a pump over the last 48 hours, even bigger than Monero.
yeah,
It
I
was
mean, but runes are like that. Runes are down 30%, up 40%. Like the liquidity is very, very fragmented over there. So it's like you see these massive price swings, and they just par for the course.
Are you
But
saying they're
I think
subject to manipulation? Is that what you're saying, Dudu?
also low liquidity means easy manipulation. Also.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's but like I mean, the least more liquidity you have, the harder it is to manipulate. But yeah, I think it's we could be back like Stan. Do you think that this? Well, we just spoke about meme coins and Dino coins and Monero and Dog coins and all the coins. Do you think this is public market activity on the exchanges is going to trickle down to the startups that are doing IDO? Do you think we're going to see some sort of increase now that the market's waking up? Are the projects going to start launching TGEs again?
Well, I got a little bit different point of view on this. Not opinion, like I'm agreeing with you, but my point of view, it's like a game, and through a game you learn in the experience. for example, you start talking about NFTs, like trading NFTs, it was like the test for the technology of the NFT. It's actual NFT, it's ERC-721 or one of the other interfaces. And we, for example, took it, and we're not the only one. There was another like places that did the same thing, took this thing about a picture that you trade in some dogs or frogs or cats or monkeys, whatever. Yeah, and this was like a really great base for making like more. I'm sorry, I'm using this word, but more serious technology upon this. Same thing about meme tokens. I think this is a learning phase. Like everything starts with some game. Let's play a game and see how far we can reach with it, and then somebody else take. Hopefully, it be us, but somebody take this and make it to the next level, to make something more serious about it. Like for example, how Elon Musk took Doge and make something serious in the White House. What you say, Matti?
Yeah, yeah. There are some examples of that out there. I'm excited to see what's going to happen over the next year or two, where we now have, crypto innovation is back on the table. Regarding, funding startups and stuff like that. Talk to me again, next week. After I come back from Dubai, I'll be able to report on what the scene is like
Yeah,
over
what
there.
is your plans? What are your big plans for Dubai, Mati? You're representing us. Carrying the flag, waving. Are you going to be there on Thursday for Yom Ha'atzmaut?
Unfortunately, yeah.
There's going to be a big celebration there. There's got more Israelis going to be there than at the on the beach in Tel Aviv.
I really doubt that, honestly. I don't know too many Israelis who are going. If you are going, let me know. I know that Building Blocks is doing their event today, so I'm missing that as we speak. Which probably is because of Yom Ha'atzmaut. I wouldn't doubt that they want to be home in time. I'll be representing Korra Finance, of course. I'll be pitching Korra to Bit Angels tomorrow morning, and then meeting with Mario Nafal's IBC group, who we partnered with for Korra Finance, and they're collaborating with us on the go-to-market strategy and token launch and everything like that. So we've got a full calendar. I'm actually happy to share my screen if you like. It is absolutely wild. If you can see, I have, for every moment of the day on the ground there, I've got about 4 or 5 different events scheduled already. So yeah, it's going to be packed. It's going to be but the events is not even the thing for me. I made myself a wish list on my phone of people that I want to see that I know are going to be there. So where I'm at is not as important as who I'm able to speak with.
Who's the top 3 people you want to see at Token?
So I'm pretty sure I'll see Michael Turpin. He'll be at the Bid Angels event. I'd love to see CZ. I've never actually met him in person before.
CZ Barnards.
Yeah, of course. He's going to be there. He's already tweeted about it. Yeah, a lot of people from quantum economics are going to be there, so I get a chance to meet some of the people that I've been working with for a while and never really had a chance to. Yeah, Joe from Chili's. Lou Kerner, of course, Action CEO. And then Sunil Sharma of CoinGape. I've been speaking with that cat for like years and years and years, and so one of his people reached out, "Are you going to be at this event?" "Yeah, I'll be there." So we get to meet him finally. And Tone Vase lives over there, and the Moon Carl, and a lot of good people. So that's pretty much the highlights of my list.
Mati, I wish we were going together next time, bro. I wanna be on also because like the community is mental. Like I was walking around with my kippa in Singapore, and I had like 4 or 5 guys come up to me like, "What's up? How are you? I know you from the group. I'm in Yalla Bitcoin. Like I saw you with Mati and Anton the other day. Like people come up like, and it's crazy to just see people and feel the energy, love. So I wish you best of luck in Dubai, and we're looking forward to your report back. I'm sure it's going to be poetic. And Stan, thank you for coming on. We're looking forward to everything you have cooking up and all the. Thank you for building the plumbing for the financial system of the future. And thank you guys for listening in. This has been the Breakfast Show. We'll back at you next week, Tuesday, with Tal Harrell is on. And hopefully Alex will join us because he couldn't make it today and for the special announcement. Stay lacquer. Enjoy.
Thank you for watching.